Today is a new day. Today is a good day. Today is a day that you can choose to be the best version of yourself. I'm Rich Bees, the real Rich Bees. You know who it is, you know what it is, and here's what we gonna do. What I know is stress is eating up a lot of people's life. How do I know that? Because it's eating up my life too. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to succumb to it. It doesn't mean that we have to, if y'all don't know what that word means, give in to it, right? It doesn't mean that we have to let it win, right? I believe that stress comes to pass, right? Like it comes into your life, you deal with it, you grow, you get better, you move on to your next level, right? Because you've won, if you will. You've figured out how to deal with that level of stress. Now, the truth is, at every level you grow to, there's a new level of stress. And that's a fact. Some levels of stress that you deal with as you're starting, right? uh, to move into your new season, if you will, which every year come January, everybody's, oh, new year, new me, right? Everybody's on this, oh, this is going to be the best year of my life, right? All of that type of stuff. And that may be true. But on that next level, there's more stress you have to deal with. And that stress is different than the stress you've dealt with in the past, right? I don't know whether people really realize that every time that you grow, there's a new challenge, right? And that's consistent. It's constant. Now, there is added stress, right? Added stress. There's stress that is the type of stress that you can't control, right? Things outside of your purview, if you will, things outside of what you yourself can control. What is that? That might be stress like what's going on in the government, right? Um, Different changes that go on within the weather cycle, right? Um, Things that other people do that indirectly affect you, right? You can't control that. That's stress that you have no control over. And so, how do we deal with that? You know what I mean? And listen, I'm one man. You know who I am. It's Rich Bees. I can't I'm not the person that says, okay, hey, I know everything to do, right? Like I have all the language for it and I'm this upper level, you know, what do you call it, therapist or whatever. Like I'm not that. That's not what I am. What I am is a person who understands that in life, um, there's experiences that you grow from. And when you grow from those experiences, you can reach back and help someone else that is just dealing with these situations that you've already dealt with. That's who I am. I'm a person who's been through a lot of experiences, and now I'm reaching back to say, hey, here's some of the things that I did to get through. And not saying that they're what you should do, but maybe there's just a different way to think about it that you may be able to help yourself to deal with the stress that you're dealing with. Because on every level, you're going to deal with a different level of stress. Now, there's other people who have certain experiences who are a little bit more ahead. Okay. Now, when I say a little bit more ahead, I'm talking about they've achieved something that I may be still reaching for, right? And they already understand what the levels of stress are that I'm going to have to deal with when I get to that level, right? For instance, let's put this on a money perspective, okay? Let's talk about it from a money perspective. If I'm a person that makes 20,000 a year, okay? And let's say, um, for illustration purposes only, I'm working at you know, a job that pays me that. First things first, if you're working at a job that pays you that, majority of the time, that job may be random in the hours, right? Like part-time, right? Because that seems like around 25,000 a year is like part-time work, right? Less than 32 hours a week, right? More like 20 hours a week. And if that's the case, then you're looking at, you might be working in the morning, you might be working in the evening, you might be working, in the middle of the day. Your time may be you might work overnight part-time, right? So that's a certain level of stress that you may be dealing with. On top of that, even if you're making between 20 and 25,000 a year and you have a coworker, right, working part-time with you, they have a child. You don't have a child, right? Again, this is for illustration purposes only. If they have a child and they are working that same type of shift as you, making the same type of money as you, their stress level is different than your stress level. Not saying it's more, I'm just saying it's different, right? Because not only are they dealing with the change in hours, but also they're dealing with how to manage that with a child, right? So if you're the person who doesn't have a child and now you end up getting pregnant and now have a child, now you're dealing with the stress that the one that has the child already understands. They've already been dealing with it, right? So you could, in essence, ask them, well, how do you deal with it? What type of things did you do to be able to maintain this schedule and still be able to work, right? So that's differences of people even on the same level when it comes to their work life. Okay. Now that also doesn't mean that, you might not have a child, but you might be married. So you're still part-time, 25,000 a year. They're part-time, 25 a year with a child without being married, right? So they're navigating a space in a little bit different way than you're navigating a space. If you're married, yes, you might be making that, and yes, your schedule may fluctuate, but also you may have another level of income because your spouse is making something too. Even if they're making the same 25,000, that's two people in one household. Now it comes to 40 to 50,000 a year, right? So now they're making, for that couple, you and your spouse together, y'all make 50,000. This person is just them with a child, still making 20 to 25,000 a year. Their stress level and the things that they deal with are going to be a lot different than the stress level and the things you deal with, right? Anytime you have help, it can end up lowering your stress level. But also, but also, it may end up adding more stress because you have the dynamic between the spouses, right? Between trying to make two people become one. That in itself is an added level of stress, right? So if we have, you know, those two divergent lifestyles that are still on the same income level, dealing with two totally different situations, both persons' stress looks different. But each person can give each other nuggets that can help to benefit their life. One person can't tell the other person how to move, right? Because their situations are totally different. You can give insight, you can give examples, you can give ways that they could be better or do something different or be able to manage what they got going on a little bit different. But you can't necessarily say, hey, from experience, that this is what I did to get out of that situation, right? They can't say to you, this is what I did in that situation to, to get through the stress. Y'all can't say that. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I'm trying to get you guys to understand that that's not necessarily the angle that I'm coming from. Where I'm coming from is like I said, providing the nuggets, all right? Things that can help. Not saying that it's the thing you should do, saying that here's some options. Here's another way to look at it, right? But also, I think that people don't realize that other people are dealing with stress too, right? Sometimes you look at people and you're like, oh, they're doing good. Let's go back to the example, the single person with the child, and you have the couple, no child. The person with the child may be able to speak to the one with the spouse if the if they get if they have a child because they understand the child aspect, right? But how that looks within a couple would differ from how that looks from being single. Not the child itself, not the way that you know, maybe deal with feeding the child, deal with loving the child or caring for the child or being available for the child. That may look kind of the same to a point. But when you have help from a spouse, that then can free up some of the stress that they had to deal with on their own. So to sum up this section, I'm looking at it from a sense that those levels, though they be the same in income, the same in time spent or varying schedules at an employer, and you know, their situations though are just so different. If you increase that with the type of job and income, now you're talking about potentially a person that's making, let's split that and say 45 to let's say 60, right? 45 to 60. That's a different type of job. That's a different type of income. That's a different type of responsibility just by changing the income level. So if you go from that, now you're not on a job that has a varied schedule. You may be on a job now that may look more like a 9 to 5, right? 7 to 3. You know what I'm saying? 3 to 10 or something, but it's consistent hours. It's always working this time, 40 hours a week. This is what you do. Or you may be salaried at that level, right? And that's even a difference. If you're hourly making 30, between 45 and 60, and if your salary making between 45 and 60, those two jobs look different. The responsibilities look different. The commitment level that you would have to have going from a hourly job to a salary job is two different things. The expectations will be different. The stress on you will be different. Not saying it's any easier because everybody maintains or excuse me, is able to deal with stress at varying degrees, right? Some people can deal a lot more with a lot more stress. Some people can only get to a point and they're like, oh, I can't do this. And they start to like, you know, the word I used at the beginning was succumb to the stress, right? Meaning let it get the best of them. And they start acting out. They start doing crazy things. They, may start drinking. They may start, having unhealthy habits, if you will, because they can't deal with the stress. But they don't realize that it's the stress that's causing them to do all of these things, right? Because it's the thing of the way that you think, the way that you problem solve, the way that you operate, a lot of times is based on the stress level you have in your life. The type of decisions that you can make when you feel free, when you feel at ease, when you feel at peace is different than the type of decisions you'll make if you feel under duress. I know that for sure. All right. Now, I can say that even in those situations, I personally have tried to make the best decision I could, right? For the situation at the time, because the whole intent is to get out of that level of stress that you're in, right? That level of anxiety, if you will, that level of the walls are starting to collapse on me, right? Because that's what stress does. Stress makes you feel like everything is on your back, if you will, right? A lot of people say, that saying, well, you got to get that monkey off your back. right? Because it's not easy, right? It's not easy. If you envision that saying, get the monkey off your back, right? That if you visually think about that, it's a monkey literally on your back. How do you get that monkey off? What is a monkey going to do when it's on your back? One, it's not just going to be sitting there on your shoulder, like propped up, looking all cute. Well, it can if you look at a real monkey, right? Like a monkey in real life, if it's a pet monkey. But if it's just a monkey, a random monkey on your back, came off the tree, boom, monkey, shoulder, boom, monkey, back of the head, monkey, coming around the sides, right? Jumping on top of your head. You know what I'm saying? How do you get that off? It's moving, it's grabbing, it's crawling, it's wrapping around your body. Like the monkey is all over the place, and you trying to get it off, you trying to grab it, and it's all over the place, and this monkey is just everywhere. What are you supposed to do? Sometimes you need help. A lot of time you might need help. You might not be able to do it by yourself. You might not be able to get that monkey off your back, right? Because one, your arms don't go backwards, right? You can't go but so far. You go here, right? You go here, you go here, right? You ain't going but so far. So how do you get it off? A lot of times it's going to be you're going to need somebody to help you, right? If you may be able to grab with one hand and kind of do this sling move, and you know what I mean, kind of like that that hip toss action. Get that bad boy, slinging up off you. um but it's an active fight to do it, an active fight to do it. That active fight that it takes to do it is the same active fight you have to do if you're trying to get any stress off you. It's not passive. You can't just go to sleep and the stress goes away. That's not it's not a thing. It may feel like the best thing. You're like, oh, you know, this is all stressful. If I just go home and get in the bed and put myself underneath the covers, when I wake up, everything will be better. No, it won't. That stress will be still there. As soon as you wake up, stress still there. And if anything, it might have got worse. Let's say if it's bill collectors, if it's somebody that you have a disagreement with, and you have to you know um communicate and fix that situation, it ain't going nowhere. It's gonna be there. If it's um you have a responsibility to, let's say, your kids or your family or whatever, and you're like, I'm just gonna get in the bed, it's gonna be better after that. It's not. It's still gonna be there. You have to deal with it. You have to deal with it. You have to get that monkey off your back, and it's not by running. Because think about it: if a monkey was on your back and you start running, the monkey's still on your back. You're carrying the monkey with you while you're running. And when I say running, I'm not talking about go for a run to relieve the physical stress. I'm not talking about that. Going for a run can be good. It can be therapeutic. It can feel good. Going to sleep could feel good. But when I say that, I'm not saying to go to sleep in the form of taking a nap. I'm saying in the form of you're using that as a getaway, right? I'm not going to get out of bed. I'm going to stay locked up in my room. I'm going to be up underneath the covers, right? As if trying to hide from the stress. That's the type I'm talking about. That is different. That the stress is not going away from doing that. If anything, you're going to start being anxious, and you're not going to want to go out anymore. You're going to end up becoming I don't know what the word is, recluse, but you're going to end up being very um introverted. You know what I mean? Like, you're basically going to coop yourself up. You're going to lock yourself up and become a hermit. You know what I'm saying? And that's not the way to deal with stress, to hide. The way to deal with the stress is to go do something about it. And again, you might need help though. What's that help? That help is to find resources that can speak to or understand the type of stress you're dealing with, And it may be somebody, they might not be a therapist or whatever, but somebody may have some nuggets. Somebody may have some tools. Somebody may have some experience that can tell you, hey, here's how I dealt with that piece. They might not be able to help with all of it, but they may be able to help with part of it, right? There's a lot of references, and I'm not trying to get spooky deep, but there is a lot of references in the Bible that talks about, dealing with different situations. And so maybe that might be a resource for you if you're a believer, right? Um, if you have access to someone who you think has a little bit of experience in a certain area in which the stress is coming from, give them a call. Take them out for a coffee, right? Take them out for lunch or something so you can have a time to talk with them, right? You don't have to necessarily, go, oh, I'm just dealing with so much. I need you to walk me through, right? You don't have to do all that, but you might be like, hey, do you mind, having a conversation if we go out for coffee? Like, well, sure. Yeah. Most people aren't going to pass that up, right? Meet with them, have a conversation. And again, when you ask questions, they may be able to give you a little bit of guidance, right? And I'm not saying take information from anybody, but I'm talking about in this situation in which you know that they've dealt with something like that because you know a lot of people. Everybody knows a lot of people. Now, whether you choose to engage with those people is a different story, but you know people. Now, in your knowing people, right? In your knowing people, everybody has had different experiences. Nobody has had the same life. It doesn't matter whether they lived in the same household. It doesn't matter whether they're family. It doesn't matter. They've never had the same life. And so that means that they've had different experiences, right? Their level of understanding in one section versus your level of understanding in that same section is going to be different. It's going to be different. It doesn't matter. It's going to be different. So when someone can give you some information, that doesn't mean that you have to take it. That doesn't mean you have to employ the same route by which they did it. The thing is to just learn the key, learn the tools, learn the basis of what they're referencing, right? So as they're talking, you hear it. And what you should be thinking about is, well, how does this fit in my life? You don't have to try to get them to tell you how to fit it in, right? Because it's your stress, it's your situation. The key is to try to figure out how can what they're saying fit into my life and is custom for the way my life works. What does that look like? So if someone tells me, hey, I know, Rich, I know you over there, you're building your Twitch channel, you know what I'm saying? You're doing real good. Not many people in the first 30 days is able to, get over the 25 followers, you know what I'm saying, to start their path towards affiliate. And it's even harder to get 3 people to stream at the same time, you know what I mean? And they're telling me this from the beginning, right? In the conversation, but they already have a big Twitch channel, right? So that means that I know they've already dealt with some levels of stress of trying to do it. Okay. Now, here's the thing though. Their Twitch channel is not like my Twitch channel, even though we're the same. I mean, meaning we've been through the same process. Their Twitch channel may have been playing games. Their Twitch channel may have been, doing like pranks and stuff. Their Twitch channel might be, watching movies, right? Your Twitch channel might be where they DJ the whole time, right? They got turntables and all kind of stuff. Because every person is different. Every channel is different. The way that people communicate to others is different. So people resonate with people who they connect with, right? So if they hear a person's voice, then if they're like, oh, they sound like a vibe, they sound like a bop, they sound like somebody I can listen to or whatever, then they'll navigate towards you once they hear you the first time. Well, this person says, hey, so here's what I did, right? They said that they did whatever, whatever, whatever. And you're like, oh, okay. I mean, that's pretty dope, especially when you know how much they've been able to amass in their growth. You know what I'm saying? Um, Give me a second, y'all. I think my battery backup just went berserk. Can y'all hear that? Because it went berserk for me. So hold on 1 second. I'll be right back. Let me try to fix that. All right. 1 second. All right, guys. Hey, listen. Um, there's nothing I'm be able to do about it while I'm streaming because once I try to reset it, it's gonna shut off my computer. So that means that I'm gonna have to end this stream early. I wasn't planning on ending this stream early. I had a long way to go with this subject matter. Let me know if you're feeling it. Um, Either hit me on social media or jump into the Discord. Let me know if you want me to finish this. If so, I'll drop a part two. I'll be back on probably it would be probably be the same time tomorrow because I have other stuff to do. I was gonna go for another hour, but if I reset this thing, um, everything is gonna have to restart, and I just don't feel like it. You know what I'm saying? I told you another level of stress. One more thing to add to the plate of the stress of my life. What that mean? That might mean that I need to get a different type of battery backup that's going to be better so I'll never have this problem again. But if I listen to that other person who was supposed to be talking to me about growing their Twitch channel and they said, hey, one of the things you might want to do is get you a certain type of computer system with a certain type of power supply and things like that, then I probably wouldn't have this problem because they've already dealt with it, right? And they didn't have problems with their stream. So there's something I could have learned. Even though we have two different type of channels, two different types of experience, they're telling me something that's at the core of a certain level of stress, which is getting your system, computer system set up, backed up, and set up in a way that you won't have these problems, right? They could know that part. Now, whether they could tell me about the whole way to run my channel, maybe, depending on what they say, but it all depends on when you take in the information, if it's applicable to the type of channel that I'm building versus the type of channel they build. Because if they say, hey, you got to have party stuff going on, you got to have the lights and they doing all flashy things and stuff like that, it gets people hyped. Well, that doesn't get with my channel, right? But what does is I can still add lights, but just different. You see what I'm saying? All of that stuff matters. So I'm tired of hearing this beeping. I'm tired of hearing that. It's really irritating. It's adding more stress into my brain. Now, with that being said, tell a friend to tell a friend to come follow your man's Rich Bees, the real Rich Bees. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Appreciate you for coming. Appreciate you for joining. Make sure you join the Discord. Love y'all. I'm out.